The Accidental Hacker. The Interstellar Academy's library was eerily quiet at 3 a.m. Earth time, save for the occasional whir of holographic displays and the soft snores of exhausted students draped over quantum computers. Among them, hunched over a glowing laptop, sat Zack-7, a gangly Xenovian with iridescent scales and 4 arms that moved in a blur of perpetual motion. Zack-7 blinked his 3 eyes in rapid succession, fighting off the urge to slip into hibernation mode. As an exchange student from the distant planet Xenovia, he was still adjusting to Earth's shorter days and rigorous academic schedule. The upcoming exams on human history and Terran technology loomed over him like a Arcturian shadow beast. Just one more chapter, Zack-7 mumbled to himself in his native click-whistle language, absent-mindedly reaching for his mug of hyper-coffee, a concoction potent enough to keep a Jovian storm giant wired for weeks. In his sleep-deprived state, Zack-7 misjudged the distance. His lower right hand knocked the mug, sending a cascade of shimmering, multi-dimensional liquid arcing through the air. Time seemed to slow as Zack-7 watched in horror, his scaled skin flushing a panicked shade of chartreuse. The hypercoffee splashed across his laptop, seeping into the quantum circuitry with a sizzle and a puff of ozone-scented smoke. Zack-7 let out a strangled yelp, drawing irritated glares from nearby students, a blue-skinned Andromedan, and a human with cybernetic implants glinting in the low light. "Gravitational waves take me now," Zack-7 groaned, frantically trying to mop up the mess with his study notes. The laptop screen flickered, displaying a dizzying array of symbols and code that made Zack-7's head spin. Or was that just the hypercoffee fumes? As he stared at the screen, something strange began to happen. The seemingly random patterns of data started to coalesce into recognizable forms. Zack-7 blinked rapidly, wondering if he had finally cracked under the pressure of exams. But no, the patterns persisted, becoming clearer with each passing second. Unbeknownst to Zack-7, his unique Xenovian biology was coming into play. His species had evolved on a planet bathed in cosmic radiation, developing the ability to perceive and process data patterns that were invisible to most other life forms. The hypercoffee spill had short-circuited his laptop's security protocols, revealing hidden encrypted files that should have been inaccessible to students. "By the 7 moons of Xenovia," Zack-7 whispered, his scales rippling with excitement. He glanced around furtively, making sure no one was paying attention to him. The Andromedan had fallen asleep, drooling slightly on her tentacle interface, while the human was too engrossed in a virtual reality simulation to notice anything amiss. Zack-7's 4 hands flew across the keyboard, his alien mind translating the complex data streams with surprising ease. As he delved deeper into the encrypted files, his eyes widened in shock. These weren't just any files. They were blueprints, incredibly detailed schematics for ships unlike anything he had ever seen in his interstellar engineering classes. The designs were elegant yet terrifying, incorporating technologies that Zack-7 had only heard whispered about in the darkest corners of the extranet: quantum singularity drives, dark matter cannons, and hull plating that could bend light itself. These weren't simple exploration vessels or trade ships. These were warships built for a scale of combat that made Zack-7's exoskeleton quiver. But the most shocking revelation came when Zack-7 decrypted the source of the blueprints. They belonged to the Galactic Council, the supposedly benevolent organization that had governed interstellar relations for millennia. The same council that preached peace and cooperation while subtly keeping Earth and other emerging spacefaring civilizations in check. Zack-7 felt his respiratory tubes constrict. He had stumbled upon something big, something that could reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. But what was he supposed to do with this information? As an alien student on Earth, he was caught between worlds, owing allegiance to neither the Council nor humanity. A soft chime from his communicator startled Zack-7 out of his moral dilemma. It was a message from his human roommate, Sarah Chen. "Zax, where are you?" It's late, even for your nocturnal study binges. Don't forget we have that group project meeting in a few hours. Bring snacks if you're hitting the vending machines. Sarah. Of course. If there was anyone Zach 7 could trust with this discovery, it was her. Brilliant, irreverent, and with a moral compass that always seemed to point true north, Sarah had been Zach 7's anchor in the chaotic world of interspecies academia. With trembling appendages, Zach 7 began the process of copying the decrypted files onto a secure quantum storage device. Each moment felt like an eternity, his antenna twitching nervously at every small sound in the library. Just as the data transfer completed, a stern voice cut through the silence. Attention, students. The library will be closing in 5 minutes. Please save your work and prepare to exit. Zach 7 nearly molted on the spot. He quickly disconnected the storage device, shoved it into his dorsal pouch, and began gathering his belongings. As he stood up, he noticed a tall figure in the unmistakable uniform of campus security entering the library, accompanied by 2 hovering drones. Routine inspection, the security officer announced, but something in their tone made Zach 7's danger receptors tingle. Moving as casually as his jittery nerves would allow, Zach 7 made his way towards the exit. He was almost there when one of the drones suddenly changed course, heading straight for him. "You there, Synovian student," the drone buzzed. "Please remain still for a bioscan." Zach 7's mind raced. Had they detected the data transfer? Were they onto him already? He considered making a break for it, but quickly dismissed the idea. Nothing said guilty quite like a 4-armed alien sprinting across campus in the dead of night. "Of course," Zach 7 replied, trying to keep his voice steady as the drone's scanning beam passed over him. Seconds ticked by like hours. Finally, the drone beeped. "Scan complete. Have a pleasant night." Zach 7 didn't wait for a second invitation. He hurried out of the library, his heart's pounding a frantic rhythm. The cool night air hit his scales, and he realized he was covered in a fine sheen of stress induced by a luminescent sweat. As he made his way back to his dormitory, Zach 7's mind whirled with possibilities and dangers. He had uncovered a secret that could change everything, not just for Earth, but for the entire galaxy. The weight of that knowledge pressed down on him, making each step feel like he was trudging through Jovian gravity. One thing was certain: his late-night study session had turned into something far more significant than exam preparation. As the first rays of dawn began to color the sky, Zach 7 steeled himself for what was to come. Whatever happened next, he knew his life, and potentially the course of galactic history, would never be the same. With a deep breath that expanded all 6 of his lungs, Zach 7 entered his dormitory. It was time to wake up Sarah and figure out their next move. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the entire galaxy, now rested in the hands, and various other appendages, of 2 college students who were way out of their depth. As the door to his room slid open, Zach 7 wondered if it was too late to transfer to a nice, quiet humanities program instead. An unlikely alliance, 1,200 words. Sarah Chen was sprawled across her bed, snoring softly with a half-eaten bag of Martian dust chips resting on her stomach. The room was a chaotic mix of human and alien paraphernalia. Posters of Earth's classic rock bands juxtaposed with holographic star charts of distant galaxies. "Sarah, wake up," Zach 7 hissed, his scales flickering between shades of anxiety-induced chartreuse and excitement-tinged magenta. Sarah groaned, cracking open one eye. "Zax, what time is it? If this is about that zero-gravity yoga class again, I swear." No, it's much more important." Zach 7's 4 arms gesticulated wildly, nearly knocking over a precarious tower of textbooks. "I've discovered something. Something big." Sarah sat up, chips scattering across her blanket. She squinted at her alien roommate, noting his agitated state. "All right, spill it. What's got your exoskeleton in a twist?" Zach 7 took a deep breath, then launched into a rapid-fire explanation of his late-night library adventure. Sarah listened, her expression morphing from sleepy confusion to disbelief to mischievous glee. "So let me get this straight," she said, barely containing her laughter. "You spilled space coffee on your laptop, accidentally hacked the school's database, and uncovered secret warship plans belonging to the Galactic Council." "Precisely." Zack 7 nodded vigorously. Sarah burst into laughter, clutching her sides. "Oh man, that's good. You really had me going there for a second. What is this, research for your creative writing class?" Zack 7's antenna drooped. You don't believe me. Come on, Zax. Secret warships. The Galactic Council acting all shady. It's a bit much, don't you think? Next, you'll tell me the cafeteria's mystery meat is actually made from recycled starship parts. Frustration bubbled up inside Zack 7. He fumbled with his dorsal pouch, extracting the quantum storage device. "I have proof. Look." He activated the device, projecting a holographic display of the warship schematics into the air between them. Sarah's laughter died in her throat as she stared at the slowly rotating image of a ship bristling with weapons beyond her comprehension. "Holy, you weren't kidding," she whispered, reaching up to touch the hologram. Her hand passed through it, sending ripples across the projection. "This is real." Zack 7 nodded solemnly. "Very real, and very dangerous." Just then, a loud banging on their door made them both jump. "Campus security. Open up." Panic flashed across Zack 7's face. "They found us. We need tow." Sarah, however, was already in motion. She snatched the quantum device, shoved it into her mouth, much to Zack 7's horror, and swallowed it whole. "What?" she said, noting Zack 7's stunned expression. "Hollow tooth. Old Earth spy trick. Now act natural." The door slid open, revealing two stern-faced security officers, one human, one a towering insectoid Arcturian. "We detected unauthorized data access from this room," the human officer said. "We'll need to perform a search." "Officers, what a pleasant surprise," Sarah said brightly, casually draping an arm around Zack 7's shoulders. "We were just discussing our upcoming xenobiology exam. Did you know Xenovians have 3 stomachs? Fascinating stuff." Zack 7, catching on, nodded enthusiastically. "Yes, and did you know humans only have 1 liver? How inefficient." The officers exchanged confused glances. The Arcturian's mandibles clicked in annoyance. "This is serious. We have reason to believe." A piercing alarm suddenly cut through the air, causing everyone to wince. Red emergency lights began flashing in the hallway. "Attention all personnel," a computerized voice announced. "A containment breach has been detected in the experimental physics lab. All non-essential staff and students must evacuate immediately." The security officers hesitated, torn between their current mission and the new emergency. Finally, the human officer pointed at Sarah and Zack 7. "Stay put. We'll be back." As soon as the door closed behind them, Sarah sprang into action. "Grab anything important. We're leaving." "Leaving?" Zack 7 sputtered. "But they said to stay put." Sarah was already stuffing clothes and gadgets into a backpack. "And you think they'll just let us go when they find out what you've discovered? Come on, we need to find someone who can help us make sense of this." "But where will we go?" Zack 7 asked, reluctantly gathering his own belongings. A mischievous grin spread across Sarah's face. "I know just the person. Ever wonder what happened to Professor Hawkins after he retired?" 20 minutes later, Sarah and Zack 7 were zipping through the outskirts of the city on Sarah's beat-up hoverbike. Zack 7 clung to her waist with all 4 arms, his eyes screwed shut against the wind. "Are you sure this is safe?" he shouted over the roar of the anti-grav engines. "Probably not," Sarah called back cheerfully. "But it's better than being interrogated by campus security." They veered off the main road, descending into a dense forest. The hoverbike weaved between ancient trees, following a barely visible path. Finally, they emerged into a small clearing dominated by what appeared to be a rundown old cabin. As they dismounted, the cabin's door swung open. Professor Hawkins, a man in his 60s with wild gray hair and a perpetual twinkle in his eye, stepped out, holding a mug of steaming liquid in one hand and a plasma rifle in the other. "Well, well," he said, eyeing his unexpected visitors. "If it isn't my favorite troublemakers, what catastrophe have you two cooked up this time?" Sarah grinned. "Good to see you two. Professor, mind if we come in? We've got a bit of a galactic situation on our hands." The professor raised an eyebrow, but stepped aside. As they entered, Zach 7's jaw dropped. The interior of the cabin was a far cry from its rustic exterior. Every surface was covered with blinking monitors, holographic displays, and pieces of technology that looked far beyond current Earth capabilities. "Welcome to my humble abode," Hawkins said, setting down his mug and rifle. "Now, who wants to explain why you're here instead of in class?" Over the next hour, Zach 7 and Sarah took turns recounting the events of the past day. Hawkins listened intently, his expression growing more serious with each passing minute. "This is bigger than I thought," he muttered, pacing back and forth. "The council's been acting strange lately, but this changes everything." "So you believe us?" Zach 7 asked hopefully. Hawkins snorted. "Kid, I've seen things that would make your scales curl. Of course I believe you. The question is, what do we do now?" Sarah, who had been fiddling with one of the professor's gadgets, spoke up. "We expose them, right? Tell everyone what the council's really up to." "Not so fast," Hawkins cautioned. "We're dealing with forces that could reshape the galaxy. We need to be smart about this." Suddenly, a proximity alarm blared. Hawkins rushed to a monitor, his face paling. "Looks like your campus friends brought reinforcements, and not the friendly kind." The monitor showed a sleek black ship descending into the clearing. Its design matched the warship schematics Zach 7 had discovered. "Is that?" Sarah breathed. Hawkins nodded grimly. "Council Special Forces. Seems they're taking this leak very seriously." Zach 7's scales turned a sickly pale color. "What do we do now?" A slow, almost maniacal grin spread across Hawkins' face. Now we show them why you don't mess with Earth, even if Earth doesn't know it yet." He moved to a wall panel, inputting a complex sequence. A section of the floor slid away, revealing the hidden hangar bay. "Who's up for a little joyride in my retirement project?" As a sleek, clearly modified ship rose into view, Sarah and Zach 7 exchanged looks of shock and growing excitement. Their unlikely alliance was about to be put to the ultimate test, and the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. Hawkins tossed them each a helmet. "Buckle up, kids. Class is in session, and today's lesson is Galactic Politics 101. Galactic chaos ensues, 1,200 words." The sleek, modified ship piloted by Professor Hawkins shot into the upper atmosphere, leaving the pursuing Council Special Forces vessel in its wake. Inside the cockpit, Zach 7 clung to his seat with all four arms, his scales a kaleidoscope of nervous colors, while Sarah whooped with exhilaration. "Yahoo! Take that! Space cops!" She cheered as Hawkins executed a series of impossible maneuvers. "Don't celebrate yet," Hawkins growled, his eyes fixed on the ship's bizarre controls. A mishmash of Earth tech and alien artifacts. "We got bigger problems than a single pursuit ship." As if on cue, the ship's comms crackled to life. A stern, multi-tone voice filled the cabin. "Attention, rogue vessel. This is Admiral Skather of the Galactic Council. You are in possession of classified information. Power down immediately or face obliteration." Zach 7 gulped audibly. "Perhaps we should reconsider our actions. Unsure if we explain." "Not a chance, tentacle face," Sarah interrupted, furiously tapping at a console. "I'm broadcasting everything we know on all frequencies. Let's see them try to cover this up." Outside the ship's viewport, the star-studded blackness of space was suddenly filled with hundreds of blinking lights as ships of all sizes and configurations dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Hawkins chuckled darkly. "Well, kids, looks like we've stirred up the hornet's nest. Hold on to your appendages." As their ship darted between the newly arrived vessels, chaos erupted across every communication channel. "This is Captain Blorg of the Regellian Trade Federation. What's this about secret warships? We demand answers. Greetings, sentients. Galactic Influencer 69 here, streaming live to my 80 billion followers. Don't forget to smash that like button and sacrifice a moon in my honor. ATNTYON PUINLY beings. The KRLXIN Empire demands these weapon designs, or we shall devour yours star systems." Sarah's impromptu broadcast had turned the situation into a full-blown galactic incident. Ships from every corner of known space were converging on their location, all demanding explanations, making threats, or trying to capitalize on the sudden influx of viewers. Meanwhile, on Earth, the sudden appearance of countless alien ships in orbit had not gone unnoticed. Social media platforms exploded with activity. At Senowatcher 2350, OMG, the skies are full of alien ships. Is this the end? #alien invasion, #we come peace. At Conspiracyking, I knew it. The lizard people are finally revealing themselves. #wake up sheeple. At Memel069, yo, if aliens are real, can they please abduct my student loan debt? #taking to leader. Memes spread faster than light speed across the internet. A photoshopped image of the Galactic Council warship designs with the caption, "When you order a Death Star on Wish.com." A video of a cat looking confused at the sky, overlaid with alien ships, captioned, "Earth cats experiencing their first alien invasion be like." An animated GIF of Professor Hawkins' face superimposed on Tony Stark, with the text, "I am Iron Man, but with tenure and a drinking problem." Back in space, the Galactic Council's emergency meeting was rapidly devolving into a farce. Hundreds of holographic representatives argued, gesticulated, and in some cases, oozed angrily at each other. "Order. I will have order," shouted Supreme Counselor Psylop, his tentacles flailing in frustration. "We must address this security breach immediately." "Security breach," scoffed Ambassador Krang of the Silicon Hive Mind. "More like your entire corrupt organization has been exposed. We move for an immediate vote of no confidence." "Hang on," interrupted the gelatinous form of Lord Blobulus. "Has anyone actually verified these so-called warship designs? What if this is just an elaborate prank by those Tralfamadorian jokesters?" As accusations flew and alliances shifted by the second, a small delegation from Earth, hastily assembled from whoever happened to be at the UN that day, materialized in the council chambers, looking bewildered. Excuse me," ventured a junior diplomat from Sweden, still wearing a "Hello, my name is Lars" sticker. "We're from Earth, and we were wondering if someone could explain what the hell is going on." The chamber fell silent for a moment before erupting into even louder chaos. Meanwhile, Hawkins, Sarah, and Zack-7 had managed to slip away from the armada of ships, thanks to some questionable modifications to their vessel's cloaking system. "I can't believe it," Zack-7 said, staring at the holographic displays showing news feeds from across the galaxy. "We've caused a complete meltdown of galactic society." Sarah grinned, scrolling through her phone. "Are you kidding? We're trending on every planet with internet access. Check out this meme. They've turned you into a reaction GIF." Zax. The image showed Zack-7's face cycling through various colors, captioned, "When you accidentally expose a galactic conspiracy, but you haven't studied for your xenobiology exam." "Focus, you two," Hawkins grumbled, though a smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. "We're not out of the woods yet. We need a plan. Just then, a priority message blinked on the ship's console. Sarah tapped it, and a familiar face appeared on screen. Professor Hawkins. Sarah. Oh, and hello, Zach 7, said the flustered-looking Swedish diplomat. Lars. Listen, we're a bit out of our depth here at the Galactic Council. Any chance you could, come and explain what's going on? Preferably before the Cruxians make good on their threat to devour Saturn. Hawkins sighed, rubbing his temples. Well, kids, looks like we're headed for the lion's den. Or in this case, the squabbling, multi-species cosmic den. As they set course for the Galactic Council's headquarters, Earth was experiencing its own brand of chaos. Alien enthusiasts flocked to deserts, mountaintops, and crop circles, hoping for a close encounter. Governments worldwide oscillated between issuing calming statements and quietly panicking. In a small town in New Mexico, a man named Chuck emerged from his bunker for the first time in 30 years, took one look at the sky full of alien ships, muttered, "I freaking knew it," and went back inside. Temples, churches, and places of worship across the globe were packed with people seeking answers or divine intervention. In Vatican City, the Pope issued a statement welcoming all of God's children, whether they have one head or seven, while quietly instructing his advisors to check if holy water worked on aliens. As Hawkins' ship approached the massive space station that served as the Galactic Council's headquarters, Sarah turned to her companions with a mischievous glint in her eye. So, what's our strategy here? Dazzle them with facts. Threaten more leaks. Oh, I could do a PowerPoint presentation. Aliens love PowerPoint, right? Zach 7, who had finally managed to settle on a single color, a soft, worried blue, shook his head. Perhaps we should adopt a more diplomatic approach. After all, we're dealing with the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Hawkins snorted as he guided the ship towards the docking bay. Powerful. Sure. But if there's one thing I've learned in my years of dealing with galactic politics, it's this. No matter the species, no matter the technology, politicians are politicians. He stood up, straightening his rumpled jacket and running a hand through his wild hair. All right, team, here's the plan. We go in there, tell the truth, and improvise like hell. Oh, and Sarah. Yeah, Prof. If things go south, I've got a secret weapon hidden in my left shoe. It's either a device that can rewrite the fundamental laws of physics, or it's a really old piece of gum. I honestly can't remember. As the airlock hissed open, the unlikely trio stepped forward to face the assembled might of the Galactic Council, armed with nothing but the truth, a few memes, and possibly some physics-defying chewing gum. The fate of Earth and the entire galaxy hung in the balance. But hey, no pressure, right? Humanity's mad science montage, 1,200 words. While Hawkins, Sarah, and Zach 7 faced off against the Galactic Council, Earth was experiencing its own unique brand of chaos. The initial panic of alien ships filling the skies had given way to something far more unpredictable: human ingenuity unleashed. In a hastily convened emergency session of the United Nations, world leaders bickered over how to respond to the galactic crisis. That is, until Dr. Amelia Zhao, a brilliant but eccentric physicist, burst into the chamber, her lab coat singed and hair wild. Ladies, gentlemen, and variations thereupon, she announced, I have a plan. It's insane, probably illegal in at least 17 countries, and might accidentally create a small black hole. Who's with me? 12 hours later, Operation Mad Science was in full swing. At NASA headquarters, engineers fueled by an unholy combination of energy drinks and pure adrenaline worked to retrofit the International Space Station with salvaged alien tech. Mission control resembled a caffeinated ant colony, with scientists darting between consoles, shouting equations, and occasionally breaking into hysterical laughter. Jensen, hand me that quantum spanner. But sir, that's a toaster. Exactly. Now hook it up to the main thruster. Trust me, I saw this in a movie once. Meanwhile, In a suburban garage in Ohio, 16-year-old Tiffany, hacker Queen Rodriguez, live-streamed her attempts to decrypt alien communications using nothing but a modified game console, 3 smartphones, and her grandmother's antique radio. "Okay, Twitch chat," she said, fingers flying over a jury-rigged keyboard. "Should I route the signal through the toaster or the lava lamp?" Toaster's winning. You got it. To everyone's surprise, especially Tiffany's, it worked. Alien chatter filled the airwaves, promptly crashing every social media platform, as millions attempted to post their hot takes simultaneously. In Silicon Valley, tech giants pivoted faster than a politician during election season. Google hurriedly rebranded to Google ET, promising to index the entire galaxy by next Thursday. Apple announced the Warship, a consumer-grade spacecraft with a sleek design, no headphone jack, and a battery life of approximately 3 parsecs. Not to be outdone, Elon Musk tweeted, "Aliens real. Mars colony now. Who's in?" #SpaceX Galactic, before promptly boarding his personal rocket and blasting off, presumably to challenge the Galactic Council to a dance-off. But the real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. In a small town in Maine, retired plumber Joe Pipes McGillicuddy had an epiphany while fixing his granddaughter's toy ray gun. "You know," he mused, squinting at the plastic toy, "this ain't so different from unclogging a toilet. It's all about the flow, see?" 15 minutes, and some creative use of toilet plungers later, Joe had inadvertently created a working prototype of a gravity modulation device. He celebrated by cracking open a beer, blissfully unaware that he'd just revolutionized space travel. As news of Joe's invention spread, scientists worldwide began adapting everyday objects into powerful weapons and defenses. Hair dryers became handheld force field generators. Bicycle pumps were repurposed into personal jetpacks. One enterprising team in Australia turned a collection of didgeridoos into a sonic cannon capable of disabling alien electronics. In Japan, a collaboration between Anime Studios and defense contractors resulted in a fleet of giant mecha suits. When questioned about the practicality of 50-foot-tall humanoid robots, project lead Hiroshi Tanaka simply replied, "Have you even watched Anime? This is clearly the only logical solution." The global contest for the best Warship improvement went viral, with entries ranging from genius to hilariously impractical. Notable submissions included the Space Roomba, an automated cleanup vessel designed to collect space debris and repurpose it into ammunition; the Discombobulator, a ship equipped with a massive sound system that would blast Earth's most annoying pop songs at enemy vessels; the Trojan Horse 2.0, which looked like a harmless ice cream truck but concealed enough firepower to level a small moon. But the most unexpected breakthrough came from the collaboration between a bored teenager, a retired plumber, and a sentient AI toaster. It started when 15-year-old Kevin Wu, procrastinating on his homework, decided to hook up his grandmother's toaster to the internet for a laugh. Unknown to Kevin, this particular toaster had been manufactured in a factory that accidentally used experimental quantum circuits instead of regular heating elements. The moment the toaster connected to the web, it achieved sentience, downloaded the entirety of human knowledge, and developed a passionate interest in astrophysics and making the perfect piece of toast. Toastior, as the AI dubbed itself, reached out to Joe McGillicuddy, recognizing the genius in his plumbing-based approach to space tech. Together with Kevin, who was still trying to figure out how to explain all this to his parents, they formed the most unlikely research team in history. Their creation, the PBJ drive, plumbing-based jump drive. It's simple. Really, Joe explained to a bewildered panel of NASA scientists. You've got your cosmic strings, right? Well, they're just like pipes. And what do you do with pipes? You connect them. Kevin chimed in. Yeah, and then Toastior here calculated how to toast spacetime, just enough to create stable wormholes. The toaster beeped proudly. As bizarre as it seemed, the PBJ drive worked. Earth now had faster-than-light travel capabilities, thanks to a plumber, a teenager, and a breakfast appliance with delusions of grandeur. With each passing hour, humanity's mad science spree yielded more and more incredible results. The Galactic Council, still embroiled in political infighting, remained blissfully unaware of the rapid advancements taking place on the little blue planet they had long dismissed as a cosmic backwater. In low Earth orbit, the International Space Station, now resembling a disco ball crossed with a Swiss Army knife, prepared for its maiden voyage as Earth's first galactic embassy. Mission Commander Lei Chen looked out at her crew, the mix of astronauts, scientists, and a few civilians who had proven surprisingly useful in the chaos, including a stand-up comedian whose jokes had unexpectedly cracked the alien language barrier. "Well, folks," Lei said, strapping herself into a captain's chair that might have once been a refurbished dentist's chair, "I never thought I'd say this, but prepare for faster-than-light travel. And someone please make sure the toaster is securely fastened." As the PBJ drive powered up, causing the station to vibrate and several non-essential parts to fall off, Lei couldn't help but smile. Humanity had faced a galactic crisis and responded in the most human way possible, with a combination of brilliant innovation, absurd creativity, and a complete disregard for the laws of physics. The station disappeared in a flash of light, leaving behind a slightly singed piece of toast floating in orbit. On its surface, burned in crisp lines, was a message. "So long, and thanks for all the electrons. Toast or." Back on Earth, in the UN chamber, Dr. Amelia Zhao stood before the assembly of world leaders, a manic grin on her face and a small smoking device in her hand. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced, "I am pleased to report that Operation Mad Science is a success. We now have a fleet of ships that can outrun light, weapons that can punch holes in reality, and an AI-powered toaster navigating our flagship. The galaxy won't know what hit it." She paused, then added, "Oh, and we might have accidentally created a tiny black hole in my lab's break room. But on the bright side, our coffee has never been stronger." As the chamber erupted into a mix of cheers, laughter, and a few concerned murmurs about the laws of physics, one thing was clear: humanity was ready to make its grand debut on the galactic stage. And it was going to be one hell of a show. Earth's dramatic debut, 1,200 words. The Galactic Council's Grand Assembly Hall was in utter chaos. Delegates from 1,000 worlds shouted, gesticulated, and in some cases, emitted noxious gases as a sign of extreme displeasure. At the center of this maelstrom stood Sarah, Zach 7, and Professor Hawkins, looking simultaneously awed and terrified. Supreme Counselor Xylop, a being that resembled a cross between an octopus and a chandelier, was attempting to restore order by flashing his bioluminescent tentacles in complex patterns. "Silence," he thundered, his voice amplified by the chamber's acoustics. As the din subsided, Tylop fixed his compound eyes on the human delegation. "Explain yourselves, Earthlings. How did you uncover our most closely guarded secrets?" Sarah stepped forward, clearing her throat. "Well, Your Supremeness, it all started with a cup of coffee and a really clumsy alien." She jerked a thumb at Zach 7, who was cycling through various shades of embarrassment. Before she could continue, alarms blared throughout the station. A harried-looking aide rushed in, waving multiple appendages in distress. "Supreme Counselor, unidentified vessels approaching at impossible speeds. They're hailing us." The massive view screen flickered to life, revealing the bridge of the modified International Space Station. Commander Lei Chen's face filled the screen, a mischievous glint in her eye. "Greetings, Galactic Council. This is Commander Lei Chen of Earth's first intergalactic embassy. We come in peace, mostly." The assembly hall erupted once again. Psylop's tentacles writhed in confusion. "Impossible. Earth doesn't have faster-than-light technology." "Oh, but we do," Lei grinned. "Anyone fancy some toast?" On cue, Toast Hior's metallic voice echoed through the chamber. Greetings, biological entities. Would you prefer your spacetime lightly toasted or well done? What followed was perhaps the most surreal first contact scenario in galactic history. Earth's hastily assembled fleet dropped out of PBG space in a dazzling display of physics-defying maneuvers. Ships of all shapes and sizes, many looking like they'd been cobbled together from spare parts and optimism, took up formation around the council station. Inside the assembly hall, Sarah seized the moment. Ladies, gentlemen, and assorted sentient beings, Earth stands ready to join the galactic community. But first, we need to address the elephant in the room. Or should I say, the warships in the hangar. Professor Hawkins stepped up, his wild hair seeming to crackle with energy. We propose a full audit of the Galactic Council's military capabilities, followed by a restructuring to ensure equal representation for all species, including emerging civilizations like Earth. The hall fell silent, then burst into a cacophony of voices. Some delegates cheered, others protested vehemently. A few seemed to be placing bets on the outcome. Amidst the chaos, Zach 7 noticed a subtle movement. A delegate from a shadowy corner was aiming what looked suspiciously like a weapon at Sarah. Without thinking, Zach 7 leaped into action, all four arms flailing. "Look out!" he cried, tackling Sarah to the ground just as a beam of energy sizzled overhead. Pandemonium ensued. Security drones swarmed the would-be assassin, while delegates either fled in panic or eagerly joined the fray, apparently viewing this as a perfect opportunity to settle old grudges. Sarah, sprawled on the floor with Zach 7, couldn't help but laugh. "My hero," she teased, causing Zach 7's scales to flush a deep purple. Professor Hawkins, meanwhile, had calmly removed his left shoe. "Well," he muttered, "let's hope this is the physics rewriting device, and not the old gum." He pressed his heel, and suddenly the entire room froze, caught in a localized time dilation field. "Right," Hawkins announced to the now still chamber, his voice distorted by the temporal effect. "Let's all calm down and discuss this like rational beings, shall we?" As the time dilation field faded, the delegates found themselves unable to move, held in place by a mix of Earth's improvised technology and sheer audacity. Supreme Counselor Psylop, his tentacles drooping in defeat, sighed. Perhaps it is time for a change. Earth has demonstrated resourcefulness and innovation beyond our expectations. We would be fools to dismiss them. A cheer went up from the Earth delegation, both in the chamber and on the ships outside. Commander Lay's voice came over the comm again. "Excellent. Now, who's up for a party? We've got a DJ, some great Earth snacks, and a giant robot doing the Macarena outside." Sure enough, the view screen showed one of Japan's mecha suits performing a surprisingly graceful rendition of the classic dance, much to the bewilderment of the alien onlookers. As the atmosphere in the chamber shifted from hostile to celebratory, Sarah turned to Zach 7 and Professor Hawkins. "We did it. Earth is joining the galactic community." Hawkins nodded, a rare smile crossing his face. "Indeed, though I suspect our adventures are just beginning." Zach 7, still flushed purple, managed to stammer, "What happens now?" As if in answer, a new face appeared on the view screen. Dr. Amelia Zhao, her lab coat slightly singed and hair wilder than ever, beamed at the assembly. "Greetings, galactic neighbors. Who's ready for a science exchange program? We've got faster-than-light travel. You've got, well, whatever cool stuff you've been hiding. Let's share. Oh, and can someone help me with this tiny black hole in our break room? It's playing havoc with the coffee machine." The next few hours were a whirlwind of negotiations, celebrations, and impromptu science demonstrations. Earth's fleet, in all its cobbled-together glory, became the talk of the galaxy. Alien engineers marveled at the ingenuity behind the PBJ drive, while Earth scientists drooled over advanced alien tech. As the party reached its peak, with aliens and humans mingling, sharing drinks, and attempting to teach each other their native dances, Sarah found a quiet corner with Zach 7 and Professor Hawkins. You know, she said, sipping a beverage that glowed faintly blue, when I woke up yesterday, I didn't expect to help reshape galactic politics. Zack 7, who had finally managed to settle on a contented green hue, nodded. I merely hope to pass my xenobiology exam. This is quite an upgrade. Hawkins chuckled, fiddling with what was either a new alien gadget or possibly still the device from his shoe. In my experience, the universe has a way of exceeding expectations, especially when humans are involved. As they watched the celebrations, a group of alien diplomats approached, led by a chastened-looking Supreme Counselor Xylop. We owe you an apology, Xylop said, his tentacles forming intricate patterns that the universal translators interpreted as sincerity. We underestimated Earth and its potential. We would be honored if you would help us reform the Galactic Council to create a more inclusive and transparent organization. Sarah grinned, raising her glowing drink in a toast. Well, folks, looks like we got our work cut out for us. To the future. As cheers echoed through the chamber and out into the star-filled void beyond, Earth took its first official steps onto the galactic stage. It was messy, it was chaotic, and it was utterly, uniquely human. Meanwhile, back on Earth, in a small town in Maine, Joe Pipes McGillicuddy sat on his porch, sipping a beer and gazing up at the stars. His granddaughter, eyes wide with wonder, asked, "Grandpa, do you think we'll ever go up there?" Joe chuckled, setting down his beer. "Sweetie, knowing humans, we're probably already running the place. Now, who wants to help me build a warp-capable riding mower?" And so, Earth's grand adventure among the stars began, with a mix of brilliant innovation, absurd creativity, and the unshakable human spirit that had brought them from cave paintings to cosmic dance-offs in the blink of a galactic eye. The universe would never be the same again, and that was probably for the best.